Hi, and welcome to this live reading from Gravedigger Academy by C.A. King, and this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1. Calling it a living room was the same as telling one big, fat lie. Being the most pristine area in the house, it was anything but a space used to live in. In fact, it was rarely entered and hardly ever occupied. There were any number of reasons why, too. The plastic on the seats made them uncomfortable, and the polish on the wooden tables was too perfect to consider placing anything on. That wasn't the worst of it. The white shag carpeting took the honor. No one in the history of the household had ever left a mark on it, let alone a stain. The chastising that would befall the one responsible for such a disgrace would be severe. Michaela's hands folded in her lap, knees together, sitting as far forward as possible. The last time the room had been used was in the previous summer. Her brother, Ty, made the mistake of wearing shorts in a blistering heat wave, leaving him in a real pickle. A boy sticking to the furniture covers wasn't a pleasant sight. Watching him being pried off was even worse. The reddened backs of his thighs taught them all a lesson that day in proper dress code and etiquette. Nervous wasn't a strong enough word for what Michaela was enduring. Being the youngest, she was the last of her 6 siblings to go through the ritual. All of her brothers were already in the academy system, and each of them had made it into the school of their choice. A side glance at the family portrait reminded her how important her next decisions were. All she ever wanted was to fit in. That wasn't easy when her entire family had blonde, curly hair and blue eyes. She stuck out like a sore thumb next to them with her limp red mop and bright green eyes. That wasn't even taking into account their bone structures being much larger than her own. This was her opportunity to move past all that. This was her chance to prove she belonged. A book landed on the table with a thud, dust from its pages scattering. It didn't matter how carefully the album was placed. Its sheer size and weight made it impossible not to sound as if something had been dropped from an airplane without a parachute. "Here it is," Hilda Bruce said, hands on her hips, admiring the volume. "I can't believe this is the last time we'll see it in this house." A white apron acted as a tissue for fake tears. "My baby is going to school." She let out an audible sigh. "Well, go on then. Open it." Her mother made it seem so easy when it was anything but. This was the moment that would define her life from there on out. Somewhere in that one book lay her future. Michaela inhaled deeply, then emptied her lungs again before making a move. Reaching out with one hand, the book opened with authority. A smile of sheer accomplishment graced her lips. "Oi," Kaz complained. "At this rate, it'll take all day to choose where to send her letters. Just get on with it already. I picked my 3 schools in less than 5 minutes. That's the way to do it." "I need to pick the right ones," Michaela barked. "Yeah," Ty snickered. "If she doesn't, she'll end up at Gravedigger Academy. Wouldn't that be a laugh?" "No child of mine is ending up there," Judd blurted out. "I'm sure she'll do fine in one of the easier arts programs." Michaela's bottom lip trembled. She'd already picked her choices without even exploring the volume. Now she was second-guessing herself. There was no room for error. Every young witch was allowed to choose the top 3 schools they wished to request admission to. That didn't mean the institutions were required to accept all of their applicants. The top schools were very competitive. The real kicker was all her brothers were in the best. Talk about pressure. If she was rejected by her choices, there was only one place for her, the one school that no one applied to but happily accepted all rejects. Gravedigger Academy. "Give her some space," Hildebrew demanded. "Off with the lot of you." She offered a smile of encouragement. "You pick whatever schools you feel best about. There's no pressure. We'll be proud of you no matter where you are placed." The towel on her shoulder snapped at Ty's ass, chasing him from the room. Picking Marsh Academy for the gifted first and foremost was a family tradition. Of course, it was the first listing in the book. It only made sense. Everyone who was anyone went there. Wasting one of the 3 precious picks, knowing there wasn't a frog's chance in the snow she'd be approved, seemed folly. Her eyes glossed over the information. The requirement for students to have full use of their abilities meant an instant rejection. She wasn't even sure she had any abilities yet. Still, she could already feel the disappointment in her father's glare if it was left off her options. The pages turned endlessly, the book becoming considerably smaller. A simple tap on no removed any preview she'd opted against applying for. The process would continue until either she had chosen yes to 3, or that was how many academies were remaining. Weeding out the not possible choices came first. They were the ones that required certain skill levels or special abilities she simply didn't possess. Reality warping. No. Abjuration. No. Conjuration. No. Transmutation. No. Elemental. No. Illusions. No. She couldn't make a pebble look like a stone. With an entrance test required, there wasn't any hope for being accepted to that one. Music magic. No. She didn't play any instruments, and there wasn't enough time to learn one from scratch. Someone probably should have prepared her for that possibility a long time ago. Michaela sighed, turning the page again. There had to be something she could do. Divination. Her hand hovered over the rejection, but with no prerequisites for entry, it was worth consideration. One hand slapped over her mouth, stopping laughter from bursting out. Clown magic. Who knew that was a thing? Certainly not her, and she wasn't interested in learning it either. Reading the requirements knocked the chuckle from her lips. They only accepted advanced magical students. She stopped at the Academy of Portals, her number one choice. The thought of opening gateways to strange new worlds put the giddiness back into her heart. Without even looking at the requirements, her first application was sent. After 2.5 hours, she was 1/3 of the way there. In the end, potions and alchemy was the only other area of interest she could find. With all other choices gone, she was down to 4. That left the hard part. Did she disappoint her father, or worry she might not be accepted to any?